always welcome to reach out to me and follow up and ask questions. You know where the bathrooms are, so I don't have to tell that. I think I covered what I wanted to talk about, what Eric asked me to cover first. I don't know if we're going to go 45 minutes. I'm going to move through this pretty smoothly. You can take notes if you want. You can try to get questions in. I wouldn't worry too much about the first section. I'm just reiterating some stuff that we've been going through. A little more detail in section 2. That's mostly big picture and aspirational. And then I'm going to give you some real tips, 7 real things that you can do to make your marketing message more compelling as you go forward. So here we are. Thanks again. Here's the context. You all know that 2020 so far has been the era of COVID, and it's created some challenges for us that we've never seen before, personally and professionally. And the cool thing about being in the marketing business is myself and some of the other folks that are on the call with us, our team gets to talk to a lot of different business people, and we get to see what their approaches are. Who's panicking, who's pivoting, what kinds of things they're doing when they pivot, how they're serving the world. And so it's been really interesting, and I've noticed, the reason I'm here today is I've noticed some trends. Some people respond productively, some people respond less productively, and the productive folks have a unique mindset that seems to be really helpful. It's the way they drive their marketing. And so I've distilled some of those concepts along with evergreen concepts that we've been talking about in marketing for years, and put it all together into what I hope is a very short and compelling presentation for you here today. So listen, I was just going to talk about the pain a little bit. The pain you hear about first and foremost from most of our business clients is loss of money. We're all familiar with that. Clients go away, they stop paying you, you don't have any money. Loss of momentum. I don't know about you, but I was having an amazing year and was preparing to have an even more amazing year. 2019 was the best I've ever done in my combined businesses. 2020, the first couple of months, just incredible. I was looking forward to some pretty lofty targets and feeling pretty good about myself. Still am. Hopefully you are too. But the momentum has stopped, and that requires some shifts in thinking. Some of the folks who are really struggling seem to have kind of lost their purpose. They've lost their way a little bit. That their purpose is so wrapped up in being able to do things in a certain way that by being stopped, by being closed, by government order, or by the lack of new clients, they just feel like they've lost their purpose. A big part, of course, you can never really truly separate people's personal lives from their business lives. A big part has been the loss of connection. I was just saying the other day that I really miss sitting in the office with our team, seeing each other face to face and talking. Even though we can get facial expressions over Zoom, to me, it's not the same as being in the presence of others. And I know I did some social distance golfing last week, and even though we were standing far apart, just to do a normal activity with people I know was really refreshing. And that's coming from somebody who's an introvert, who charges his batteries by being alone. So like you, I'm feeling a sense of loss of connection, and I can't wait to get that back. And then loss of opportunity. All of us who are trying to drive a business are trying to get out there, are trying to procure new business, new customers, have the cash flow work, and be able to learn from that interaction. And we've lost that opportunity to do so. The things that are causing that, right? The quarantine, these are for me, but hopefully you can see them. If not, it's no big deal. Quarantine. A lot of people tell me they're just spending a huge bulk of their time working on these government aid packages. I know I have, talking to my accountant, applying for PPP, applying for EIDL, their state and county grants, creating GoFundMe, reaching out to our members and our business clients to say, look, we want to come out of this at the other end. The first goal is survival, and then we want to work together, strive, and thrive thereafter. And so a huge bulk of my time has been doing things that I had no interest in learning until this, but I've been forced to do so, and I'm sure some of you have as well. Learned a lot about platforms like GoFundMe, and learned a lot of things I never wanted to learn about how our government operates. And so there's a real temptation here to just go, oh my God, that's too much. Let me get my blankie, put the curtains down, and binge Netflix. I think Netflix is like a good cigar. It's something you do very rarely because it becomes a habit, takes over your life. So anyway, that's kind of an overview of some of the pain we're feeling, and that the avatar for all that pain for most of us is money. We got to make sure that the leases are paid, that the employees are paid, you know, the bank account stays full, so that we can get through this and then move forward. If we get to that point, if we can survive, and I didn't even write that up here, but right, the first thing we need to do is survive. And I think I know enough about everybody who's on this call to know that, yeah, you're doing at least okay, right? That you're surviving. And now you can start thinking about, okay, it looks like, based on all the data and all the government programs and all the things you're hearing on the news, it looks like we've probably hit peak COVID and we're coming down. We don't know if that coming down is a month-long process or a years-long process, but we're coming down. A lot of the technology and data gathering has gotten much, much better. And so we can see there's going to be a future, a post-COVID future. And so that brings me to the aspirational stuff that I really wanted to talk to you about, and the stuff that's really been a powerful contrast between folks who have stopped thinking about it and folks who have been proactively thinking about it. And those are the opportunities, the 4 S's. So I guess I could include survive as a 5th S, but I'm gonna take that for granted. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna have enough to eat, probably not lose our homes. Let's move forward from here and think not about staying here or dropping, but think about, is that the right way for you guys? Isn't it supposed to go up and to the right? Probably not, but anyway, going up. All right, the 4 S's. So here's the thing about the S's, and I'll hit this again. To every purpose, there's a time. To every time, there's a purpose. They're not all the same. So whereas you might have an opportunity, one of these 4 opportunities, there's never one, by the way, they always come in groups, but where your business or you personally maybe have one of these opportunities, it doesn't mean that that's true for everybody. Different businesses have pivoted differently. They offer different things. Some have bigger challenges, some have smaller challenges. The point of these is, if you're aware of them, it helps to compartmentalize your thinking and give you specific tactics and strategies based on where you are. But I titled this seminar, Marketing with the Head and the Heart, for a reason. I don't believe in selling. That might be funny coming from somebody who owns a marketing business, but I don't believe in selling. I believe in educating. So when I talk about sell, nothing I say today should make you think that it's time to go out and start doing hard sell. I believe in authenticity. I believe in educating people about what you do and why you do it well. And when you do it that way, it brings a lot of these S's together into a coherent whole. And I think makes it easier to sleep at night and makes it easier to feel like you're serving the world and not just yourself. The first S is an opportunity to share. Opportunity to share. That was big after the first shock of the COVID, right? After the first 2 weeks of the COVID, after we all went, oh my God, I think I'm probably going to live. I've got enough food for the next month. What do I do now? Can't sell, but I can share. I can share what I have. And a lot of people I know did that. And it was really refreshing to see. It's one of the big, powerful takeaways I'm going to have from this whole experience, is that so many people, virtually everybody I count amongst my friends and close business associates, shared in some way. My good friends, Kristen and Dana Jackson, own some Sweetwater franchises. They figured out a way to package a bunch of stuff and give it to first responders, give it to hospital employees. A lot of us in the business community helped to fund that. But the point is, they had the inspiration, they had the execution, and we were able to participate in that in some way. So they right away started talking about sharing, right, what they have. I know so many people who have shared their time and their treasure, either counseling others through this or literally donating money to causes, to helping people get through. I don't know, when you see on the news that the American people have lost their way, Canadian people as well, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. The overwhelming majority of people I know have really, really stepped up and done some amazing and wonderful things. Opportunity to share. As a business person, one of the things that you can share is information and data. Information about your field, most particularly as it applies to the folks that you're trying to do business with. Not in a mercenary way, right? During the peak of COVID, the last thing you want to do is hit them hard. So instead, if you can serve them in a way, and you guys have probably seen these pictures out here. Eric, I knew there was a reason I left the space open. This is for Eric, who said, fill up that space. I'm just going to do that. So you know the deal, right? we'll call it the USP, marketing speak, your unique selling proposition, how you serve the world, and what the world wants. What the world wants. Where they overlap, right? If you're going to share information and data, it shouldn't be random. It should be coming out of something that you're good at, a particular area that you serve well, your unique selling proposition, or in this case, your unique sharing proposition, and what the world wants. You bring those two together, and the messages that you're sending out are going to resonate more. They're going to be more authentic, and you develop a better sense of connection with others. And I'm a huge proponent of this because there's so much bad news out there, much of it manufactured or hyped up or amplified, that I'm a huge fan of sharing good news about the present, as I'm doing right now, telling you about all my experiences with people who have donated, given, helped, shared, right? And good news about the future, which I'm trying to do today as well, which is to say, listen, this is tough, but we're going to get through it. And when we do, we're going to do some thinking and some logistical movement to put ourselves in a position to move forward way, way better. Sometimes, right? Unlike the politicians, we're not going to let a crisis go to waste in a positive way. We're going to try to bring more joy and more productivity to the world. So there's an opportunity to share. And that was, for me and many people I know, the primary opportunity in the first 2 weeks to a month of the COVID crisis. What you have, info and data, good news for the present and the future. Then the second S is the opportunity to serve. The opportunity to serve. Who can you serve? Well, first of all, you can serve those in need. We were just talking about that. Providing stuff for people who need stuff. I talked about sending goodies to ER docs a minute ago, but there are a lot of people in need, right? There are a lot of people, restaurant workers come to mind. I've seen a lot of GoFundMes for restaurant workers. Some of those folks are friends of mine or people I know, and they've been hit harder probably than almost anybody else in the business world because their restaurants can't serve people. Restaurants can't serve people. They can't pay their employees. Their employees, by and large, don't have a lot of money socked away. And so I know I have reached into my pocket. I know a lot of you have, and some friends of mine have reached in to help those people so that when we get back to the other end, when they've been taking such good care of us in the past, that they can continue to do so. We'll see. I think the battlefield is going to be strewn with the bodies of, figuratively, of course, of restaurant workers, because that's going to be a really tough slog coming back. But you have an opportunity to serve, right, by serving them, those in need with things. But another place you can serve is serve those who serve others. First responders, medical personnel, anybody that puts themselves out as a helper and who does other things, you can serve them. And you can serve them in the way we talked about opportunity to share your time and treasure, but as an expert in your field, as somebody with a USP, right, you can serve them in some unique way. And that's something else that I've done, and I know some of you have done, and a lot of my business friends have done, is that they've said, look, especially in the marketing field, look, now's not the time to worry about charging you money for what I do. I know you have this need. You've got to pivot quickly. You've got to talk about, you used to do this, but you can't do it. So now you got to do that. We're going to help you talk about that. We're going to help you talk about it without you having to reach into your checkbook. It's just not the time. It's just not the time. So sometimes in here is what the world needs, not just what the world wants. And if your USP in some way overlaps that, John, you're a graphics guy and a design guy, there may be people who have needed some quick retooling, some quick rebranding. And if they can't afford it right now, but I feel like I can serve them, that's what I'm going to do. And I know you would probably do that as well. It's been super true. I've got a lot of martial artists on this call. It's been super true in the world of martial arts. I can't tell you how many people I know and love and have trained with for years who simply said, you know what, Sensei, I can't, I would love to keep training. I can't afford to do so. And my answer has been, don't worry about a thing. It's time for you to train. It's time for you. I can serve you by letting you continue to train without having to worry about paying for your training for now, because I believe it's the right thing to do. If that comes back to my benefit in the future, so be it. I've got a FedEx guy out there, but I'm not going to leave you for him. He's going to have to leave me one of those little tickets. Opportunity to serve and the greater good. If the greater good, if what the world needs happens to overlap with your USP, right? One of the reasons I love being in a marketing business is because we can help people who are working really hard at doing what they do well, get their message out to the world. And in many ways, they serve it. We need things like HVAC, like house painting. We need things like landscaping. We need things like, I can't think of the entire list of our clients. They're helping the world in some way. If they weren't, they wouldn't be in business. Doesn't always have to be Mother Teresa style help. It certainly could be. So opportunity to serve. You can serve those in need. You can serve those who serve others. And you can serve the greater good. I'll give you a chance to weigh in on this in a moment. I want to hit the other two S's and then kind of wrap this up and then see what you had to think. Opportunity to share, opportunity to serve. At some point in this, people are going to start going, I made it. We were just having a conversation about this at our SEO meeting this morning. I think we made it through. I'm starting to look at the future. I'm seeing a few more inquiries. Maybe, just maybe, there's now an opportunity to sell. I think one of the most important questions, remember what I said about selling before. I don't think selling is hard sell. I hate it. Most of you hate it. Even people I know that are in business who sometimes resort to that, it just rubs me the wrong way. And hopefully it does as you as well. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the opportunity to approach people, educate them about what you do, make sure it matches what their needs are, and then develop a business relationship out of that. When is the opportunity to sell? When is it? If you asked me that 3 weeks ago, I would have said it's not now. For 90% of the people I knew, 90% of the business I work with, it's not now, it's not now. Now I'm going to say, you know what? For some, it may be. Do they have a need, right? What the world needs, what the world wants. Do they have a need for what you offer? Do they have the capability? Do they have the time and the bandwidth to interact with you in a meaningful way so that you can deliver what you do, whether that be on the martial arts floor, whether that be in a graphic design studio, whether that be in the world of science and technology? Do they have the capability? And also, do they have the money? If not, there may be a reason to serve them, right? There may be a reason to serve them, in which case you table the money and talk about that later. But if they have the money and they're willing to, and you have the bandwidth yourself, I'm not suggesting you bankrupt yourself to help the rest of the world. If they have the money, then you can develop that kind of relationship too. Several people have approached me, and I've approached several people that I do business with that I got to write checks to every month. And I've said, hey, listen, now's not the time for this big check, but I can give you this check now with the expectation that as things get better, it can go back up to where you want it to be. And that's another way to help people without completely bankrupting yourself. So when is the time to sell? When there's a need, when they have the capability of taking advantage of the need, and when your product or service truly helps, when your product or service truly helps. That's one of the reasons I hate hard sell, because the folks that do that, they sit down with you, or they get on the phone with you, or they get on the internet or Zoom with you, and they say, here's what I do. Want some? No. Oh, come on, really? No. Well, I'll make it cheaper. No. Right? Well, I'm not going to stop calling you until you say yes. No. Right? Their product or service probably doesn't truly help, because if it truly helps, if it meets all these criteria, right? As somebody who's pretty cynical about buying from others, if it meets all these criteria, it's pretty easy for me to take out my checkbook. That's old speak, isn't it? Nobody writes a check anymore. Pretty easy to take out my credit card if it meets my needs, if I have the capability of properly taking advantage of it, and if it truly, truly helps. And I think that's an important way to think about it, to help you develop authenticity and a sense of connection with the people you do business with. Opportunity to share, opportunity to serve, opportunity to sell, opportunity to scale. This is the fun part, and this is where latter half of 2018, all of 2019, and the first month or two of 2020 were really fun. A rock and roll experience in the world of business, the opportunity to scale. And what I mean by that, probably know, but if you don't know, right, you're this big and you want to be this big. You can want until you're blue in the face. But if the time's not right, especially during peak COVID. Now, listen, some people were able to scale. You know who scaled during COVID? Zoom, right? Food delivery services, right? Mask makers, people that, Jesse, right? That's somebody who was super smart about thinking about that and had some alacrity about starting to offer PPE for businesses. There's lots of ways to make moves that apply to this particular time. And if that's the case, as I said, the time might be right for you. It might be right for you to scale. Zoom certainly did that. I hear Amazon is scaling like crazy. Bezos is not just the richest man on the planet. I think he's now the richest man in the universe. Here's the deal. For most of us, the opportunity to scale is going to come when the economy starts ramping back up. So you can ride that, right? More people have more money and they have more opportunity to do business with you. Sadly, as some of your competitors fall away. So no matter how much support we get from the government, some people are going to go, you know what? I'm 65 years old. I don't want to go through this again. I had to build it up from 2008. I'm done. I'm going to sell. I'm going to close. I'm done. Some people, and I'm sad to say, I know several already, people in my space, the gym and the fitness and the martial arts space, who are people who have operated on a month-to-month basis in their business for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. And this is just too much for them. Even with payroll protection and everything else, they're just like, you know what? Can't do it. Some good friends of mine who operate in the fitness space got all of that stuff, but their insurance company, because of all this, took a close look at what they're doing and they go, hey, you do these activities which are super dangerous. We're going to jack your insurance premiums up from $1,000 a year to $12,000 a year. That was it. That was a nail in the coffin, right? So some people are going to fall away. That's an opportunity for you to fill that space. If you do what you do well, if you have a great USP, you deliver well, and it's what the world wants and needs. As you improve and serve better. And that's one of the cool things about being in a time of business that's going well, is that there's lots of momentum, lots of opportunity, and also lots of data coming to you. Here's what we're offering. Oh, that's not working well. Let's try this. Ooh, that is working well. Wonder why. What can we do, right? Our team in SEO, we do that all the time. Why did that social media post work well? And why did that one not work well, right? Why did that content create all that energy online? My kid is something of a TikTok star. She's the same way. She used to do this reflexively. Now she does it intellectually. Geez, Dad, that 3 months ago, I posted that one thing and it blew up. Why? Well, that's one nice thing about doing business during peak times. But maybe during peak times, you don't have time to analyze that data, to think about it, or the desperation to take the steps you need. So this is the time to reflect. As the economy ramps up, as your competitors fall away, as you improve and serve better, as your buyers become more able, right? We're all riding that wave together, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. So as they have more money, they have more clients, they're going to be more likely to reach out for you. In our world, that happens fairly often. We have a client that's at this level and they say, gosh, you guys are doing a bang up job. I have these other things I want to do. Now I can afford them. Let's ramp it up. And I think we all can kind of think about that as we move forward. And then as you innovate, I guess I kind of covered that when I say use the data, but sometimes you're going to wake up one day and go, you know what, I've been doing this all along. I'm going to do something completely different. You know, Robert, we at JMAC, you know, we did traditional martial arts for years and years and years. I resisted doing kids probably the first 8 years of our dojo's life. Good friend of mine talked me into kids. Now that's half our business. About 2 years ago, I started doing this workout on my own. I've got entrepreneurial and personal ADD. So I decided I wanted a workout that I could tolerate. So I created the JMAC 18 minutes. It's so short, you don't have time to get bored. And if you hate it, you only have to hate it for 18 minutes. So as you innovate, right, is another way to scale. So I talked about the 4 opportunities. Opportunity to share, opportunity to serve, opportunity to sell, opportunity to scale. The truth is, these opportunities always exist. The limits, right, when to use which one and how well you live into it, right, are self-imposed, or maybe not self-imposed, but they're from us, right? It's our inability to have the imagination and the drive and the set aside the time to do it. And even though there's always an opportunity to do all these things in the right balance at the right moment, I'm not going to write these, but timing and execution are everything. Timing and execution are everything. If you try to sell when it's time to serve, you're going to your inquiries are going to fall on, not on deaf ears. You're going to be perceived as tone deaf, and you're going to be perceived as a salesman rather than somebody authentic. One of our team members is on this call. Eric brought that to our attention a couple of months ago, maybe 7 weeks ago. He came to me and he said, Nick, I'm looking at all our clients' posts, and the ones who are ignoring COVID and just going on with routine business, you look at their post and you almost get a bad feeling in the pit of your stomach. You've got to address this stuff. You got to address it in a positive way, but you've got to address it. Got to move with alacrity. So timing and execution are everything. All right, so I told you I want to take just a minute, see if you had any feedback. Hopefully I can see you well enough to see if you have any questions or anything. Share, serve, sell, scale. Those are the 4 opportunities. They always exist. Timing and execution are everything. Questions or you want to weigh in? Hi, Sebastian. I didn't say hi to you.
So Katie had a question before she dropped out of the call, and she wanted to know more specifically about just getting the tone right? So I guess it's easy to talk about the tone and the message and avoiding the hard sell and talking about service right now, but like, what does that kind of look like concretely and like in practice?
Yep. Interesting example, which a client example we had this morning, which I'm not at liberty to share, but generally speaking, the first thing to avoid is what we call wig jam. Right? Wig jam is, wow, I'm great. Just ask me. That's the guy that comes up to you and goes, I got these awesome products. Want one? Yeah, maybe if it's a candy bar or a cup of coffee, but if it's anything more than that, if it's auto repair or a video project, you're going to have to be educated a little bit more on what they offer and why it's going to help you. So the first thing to avoid is touting your own benefits in too strident a voice. The second thing, and this is kind of tough, but it's what I'm going to talk about in our 7 things, which I'll get to in just a moment. And that is authenticity and connection. You got to be really careful not to put something out there that feels artificial, that feels forced, and something that's going to alienate your particular audience. You've got a unique selling proposition. We know we want to serve what the world needs. We also want to serve what the world wants. And if you have something that just doesn't resonate, and I'll talk about that in a minute, that's something to definitely think about avoiding. Since Katie works here, I can fill her in a little bit more on that. Any other queries before we move into the downhill slope of today's COVID lecture? The dream, 7 things. Anything else, young Eric?
So before the other Katie left, actually, we have another question, which is just for the businesses that are, I guess, lucky enough to provide like more obviously helpful and essential services, how do you still kind of help your community and be community-based and do business when you maybe like aren't a first responder or something like that?
One way is to help the first responders, right? Serve the first responders in a lot of capacities. I mean, if we're a marketing company, right, we can talk about what they do. And also, we talked about sharing information and data and the opportunity to share, serving people by saying, listen, here's a thing, and here's you can get information about it. You know, a ton of the business coaches in town, and Eric, you know, one of them, had shifted over to resources. Here's business resources. Confused about the PPP, here's where you can go get more information. Confused about EIDL, here's where you can go to get more information. Here's an analysis. Attorneys have been doing that. Hey, this changes everything. Here's how it changes it. Here's what you should be thinking about. And some of them have said, I think in a reasonable tone, hey, we know this changes everything. Your will and trust, your operating agreement may no longer be valid because of the changes that were affected by the COVID era. So after this is over, come in and see us and we'll make a change. That might get the tone right. Helping those who serve and helping get information and data about them, right, positions you well in the minds of the people that you do business with. And I don't mean to do this in a mercenary manner. I think you need to do it in a holistic manner. Show the world that you really care, because you do. In the long run, that's going to put you in much better state here and in the future. And then your friends, neighbors, clients, and business associates will pick up on that. All right, rock and roll. I'm going to have time for more questions afterwards. And of course, you guys know how to get a hold of me. So if this goes too fast, please let me know. But I want to make sure we cover everything. So we talked about the pain. Everybody's experienced it. Everybody at this round table has experienced it. And you've probably seen your share of it in your community. We've talked about the opportunities. The opportunities in the right mindset are to share, to serve, to sell, to scale. The truth is they always exist, but your timing and your execution really make a difference. All right, let's talk about the dream, the path forward. And just as I said, I'm not a fan of selling. I'm a fan of educating. I'm a fan of authenticity and connection. And that's what these things are about. These are about persuasive tools that you should be thinking about when you write your marketing copy or when you're thinking about your next ad campaign. Or I'm a big fan of reverse engineering what you do. You know, we have this struggle a lot with some clients, and that is that we want to put out a press release. So we say, hey, clients, we want to put out a press release. And the client says, well, we haven't done anything interesting lately. Well, two things there. One is you probably have, it's just you're in it every day, so it doesn't seem interesting to you. But the other one is, how about reverse engineering a press release? Since you know you need to send a press release out, and you don't want to send a boring press release out, figure out something to do that's interesting, right? And by the way, one of the things that's interesting and meaningful to people is sharing and serving. You can write a press release about what you've done in that realm. Authenticity and connection, really important. I know everybody on this call, nobody is in the other world just trying to sell for the sake of selling. All right, 7 things. First of all, honor their struggle. Honor their struggle. And that's part of getting the tone right. If someone comes to me right now and says, Michigan SEO Group, we're in negotiations with our lease right now. Tough time for the landlord, right? Coming to me with your hand out right now. You're not honoring my struggle. Hey, Nick, we want you to pay a whole lot more rent. Nothing doing, man. I'm just not feeling you. But if you came to me and said, we can be really helpful in the next 2 to 3 months, get you through, and then have that talk, that would mean a lot more. So whatever you offer, martial arts, right, Robert? Sign up right now. Well, I got no money. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a free intro program. Go through that. Here's how I can serve you. I can give you a taste of your experience here. And if you like it, when the economy recovers and you got money again, maybe then it's time to pay some dues. Are you going to get burned sometimes? Yes. Should you change? No, because it comes from you. It's your character, right? Sebastian, I know you and I have talked about some of this stuff. How can we serve people now when they're nervous, when they don't want any contact, when they don't have a ton of money, or if they do have money but they're just not sure what the future is going to hold? How can we serve them in a way that they can't afford? It's actually going to be beneficial to them. So when you put your copy out there, your marketing copy, your photographs, you want to honor their struggle. You want to make sure they understand that you realize it may not be time to hit them hard and ask for everything you can possibly ask for, unless it's time for them to scale and they know it and you know it. Make sure you honor their struggle. Not vastly complicated, but people get this wrong all the time. Number 2, don't rush them. And I think this probably really is very similar to the first one. But you know, the worst form of rushing is the guy I talked about. It comes up to you and goes, wow, I got great stuff. You want some? No, I don't want stuff. Tell me more about it. Why do I need it? Let me get to know you, right? We talk about this in networking all the time. Go to a networking event. If the first thing someone does when I meet them is offer to sell me something that they have, I'm probably not going to do business with them. But if they get to know me and we discover things about one another that we like, and maybe we have coffee together, a year down the road, either I need their service or I know somebody else does, I'm going to make a referral to them. Same thing in your ad copy. Don't rush them. This will seem in contradiction to what I say later about deadlines, but there's a big difference between hitting somebody hard and saying, you got to buy right now, unless there's a real authentic reason for it. And if you are not honoring their struggle, if you're not reaching people where they are, right, what the world wants and how it wants it, then you're going to be tone deaf. And being tone deaf when you're marketing what you do is really detrimental. It's the death knell over a long period of time. Number 3, describe the future. This is very powerful. This is an inspirational approach to marketing. Is that when you tell somebody, oh, you've got to do X, Y, Z, you've got to buy my book. Why should I buy your book? Well, listen, in the book, there's some very useful advice. And if you follow that advice, a year from now, instead of struggling to make $10,000 a month and barely being able to pay your employees, you're probably making $25,000 or $30,000 a month. So you can give your employees a raise. You'll have more money for doing more things in the business. Your opportunities will grow. Describe the future. And the more detailed you can be about that, the better. Here's the cool thing about that. In order to be detailed about their future, you got to understand where they are now, who they are, where they want to be. And so by honoring their struggle, by getting to know them, by really getting to know what the world wants, what that person wants, or what your avatar, your client avatar wants, you're going to do a much better job of describing the future for them. And the better you do, and the more detail you have, I got to move fast. The better you're going to do there, and people are going to be more inspired by that and more able to see what the future is going to be like with you, more likely to do business with you. Here's one people miss all the time, and it's a little harder than you'd think. You want to relate to both the extrinsic and intrinsic values of somebody. So if you come in as a business coach and you say, hey, I'm going to help you make a lot more money, that might work for some people. But if you say, I'm not only going to help you make a lot more money, but I'm going to help you do business with more of the kinds of people that you want to do business with, so your days at work can be more fulfilling and you can develop friendships as well as develop a bigger bank account. Now you're talking about extrinsic and intrinsic. I've had great success with this. A good friend of mine is a now retired dentist, but I went to him 10 years ago and I said, not only can I help you get more people in here, but I know you like to work with athletes. We can tool your campaigns to attract more athletes and golfers, and you can talk to them at work. So you're not only filling their teeth, you're also having a good time gassing with your friends. And he loved that idea. So you want to make sure that when you're sending your own message out there, Robert in the martial arts, right? You're not only going to get fit and strong and have, the ladies after you, but you're going to be calmer. Your philosophy, your philosophical approach will be better, whatever it might be for you. So extrinsic and intrinsic, if you can hit both in a single marketing moment or a single message, that's going to be really powerful. Number 5, describe benefit extension. I touched on this a minute ago. Here's the deal. If your car runs better and you don't have to worry about it, you can be able to spend more time with your family. If you spend more time with your family, they're going to bond with you better. If they bond with you better, when your kid becomes a teenager, she's not going to act out as much. I just came in here for an oil change, man. But you just changed my life. Benefit extension. Talk about, not only is this going to help you, right? Not only are you going to help more people with their workers' compensation claims, but if you get those people the money they deserve because they're injured and can't work, their lives are going to be better. They're going to be able to support their families. They're going to be able to keep their homes. They're going to be able to keep their prescriptions filled. They're going to be able to pursue their creative endeavors. You can go too far with this. You know the deal. You can go too far with this. But if you can allude to the benefit extension, what are the benefits, not just to the person you're talking to, but to the people that matter around them, whether it's their business associates or their families, that can be very, very powerful as long as it's done authentically. And then those are all the carrots. There's 2 sticks here. One is the consequences of not acting. If you don't do this, right? If you don't do this, you're going to continue to be overweight and out of shape for years and years. You're going to get hypertension. The COVID, attacks people with obesity a lot more than others, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the deal. Remember this. If you take one thing away from today's session, don't say it to the person you're talking to. If you're going to share the consequences of not acting, talk about some other fictional character so you're not hitting people over the head with it. You're not smashing them in the face. Instead, say, I met so-and-so a year ago and they were talking about doing this and they had these problems and they never took any action. And look where they are today, exactly where they were or worse. So you want to talk about the consequences of not acting, but be indirect. Here's the deal. Don't make shit up, despite what I just said. Find real examples. It's so important, especially when you start getting to the negative area, that you're authentic and that you develop a good connection. You start throwing this stuff out willy-nilly just for the sake of having it out there, it's gonna come back to bite you. It's really gonna cost you in terms of authenticity. If you lose authenticity at the marketing stage, it's probably gonna have, it's one of those things you can't get back. If you end up doing business with them, they're gonna have that little question mark the whole time. And then lastly, deadlines. Make deadlines real. And I mean real deadlines and realistic deadlines. You can't make deadlines and say, oh, you got to do this by tomorrow, when it's be impossible, when somebody, right, doesn't have the need right now, doesn't have the capability right now, or if your product or service doesn't truly help. If it does all those things, you've got to make a deadline that they have a reasonable chance of meeting, and it should be based on real things. Don't you hate, probably as much as I do, all these things? Oh, there's a sale right now. Buy now or you're going to miss out. We all hate that, and we can all spot it 10,000 miles away. Now, once in a while, they catch us, and we do it anyway. But the real point is that's not where you want to live. You don't want your character or the character of your business to be influenced by fakery. So make sure people know what the deadlines are. Hey, this thing is coming. There's an event coming. There's something coming. Season's changing. The manufacturer is going to take away a product, whatever it might be. Just make sure you inform them of that it's real and it's realistic for them, so that they have a sense of urgency about it. So I'm going to send you a PDF on these, but the 7 ways to revolutionize your offerings is come into it with these as your category. Don't just sit there randomly and try to make what we should do today. Instead, go, today's social media posts should honor their struggle. Tuesdays, I don't want to rush them, so I'm going to really wade into this and go through the details. I want to describe the future in glowing terms, realistic but glowing terms, so they understand where this proposition is going to take them. I want to make sure I'm relating to both extrinsic and intrinsic values. I want to describe benefit extension, how it helps those around them and their community. I want to talk about the consequences of not acting, but not referring directly to them, but instead somebody you may have seen or some experience you've had. And finally, deadlines that are both real and realistic. How'd I do? 1 minute over. Not bad. All right. Any more questions or comments, or you just want to buy me a beer? I'm here to talk.
Yeah, so I think that I can just unmute everyone if we want to just kind of quickly open up the floor for any questions.
Sure. And by the way, anybody that's got under time pressure, if you feel they need to leave, I won't take it personally.
So, Nick, I've got to run, but I wanted to just make a couple comments.
Yes, please, Tom.
So I tuned in because, as you know, I'm a fundraiser, and fundraising is sales. No matter how you look at it, basically that's what it is. And so a lot of this completely relates to donor stewardship, and right now, nonprofits are doing this very thing. We're communicating with donors just on how are you doing, and do you need anything, and so forth. Just staying connected and letting them know that we're still operating. Despite the closing of most businesses, but we go by the LIA, which is the link, interest, and ability for a donor, and all of this plays right into that. So I really appreciate things like no hard selling. Nobody wants that. That's back in the day type cold calling. So I really appreciate this. I think it's good. What did you say though? I had a question next to press releases. What did you say about press releases? Oh,
I was talking about reverse engineering your press releases. There's two things that there's one objection we get back from people, and I have two ways to deal with it. The objection is, hey, we haven't done anything interesting. So that's usually wrong. Most people are in their own business environment so much they don't realize that some of the simplest things they do are very interesting to others, right? So sometimes it's good to get out and get input from others, understand that. But the other part, and the part that's fun for me, is reverse engineering press releases. If you know you have to come up with a press release every month, instead of trying to conjure up, what did I do in the last month? Get proactive and go, hey, I got to do a press release. The world wants to know it. Well, I better not be boring. I'm going to go out and do something really interesting for the purpose of doing that. And that can sometimes be the spark you need, right, to do what I'm doing right now. Have a webinar during normal business times, to have a special martial arts event, right, Robert? Right, a fundraiser with that's just, the ideas can be super helpful. They can be wacky. They can be discount based. There's lots of ways to do it, but you should never be struggling for press release material. Once you start thinking about reverse engineering, and it can almost, there's such a thing as too wacky, but I think that line is way farther down than most people think.
Just be
helpful?
Creative.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. It's great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, it's Paul.
Hey, Paul.
You
I can hear you.
Hey, just a little bit. It's very hard to read your whiteboard and to keep up trying to take notes about what you're talking about and everything. Is there any way that you can, share that whiteboard better with us later, or?
Yep, absolutely, Paul. I think you probably came in just a little after the intro, but I'll send you a PDF of this, so you
Fantastic.
can have everything I have, except for the harebrained ideas and excessive energy. You can have all the rest.
Hey, I like that excessive energy, Nick.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Paul.
Hey, Nick, I have a real quick comment.
Hey, John.
How you doing, brother?
Man, it's great to see you.
You clean up good, man.
Well, every now and then you got to convince people you know what you're doing. For me, that
Right on.
putting on a suit.
This is really fantastic and appropriate stuff, man. I just love it. And I found that during this whole thing, what's helped me, especially in the serving and the selling and the scaling, all that part of it, is to be a good, compassionate listener. And it's a skill that I've constantly got to work at, but it pays real dividends, especially in the serving and the selling part. So, and that's related to all these tips, right? The skill of being a good, compassionate listener is going to serve you well in all these sorts of endeavors. But I love the stuff, man. It's really great. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. John, I think this is true. I may be wrong, but I think you are the last dining out with a real human being experience I had before this whole COVID thing set in.
I know. I call it the Last Supper.
Great.
Hey, Nick, we're kind of on the verge of a major reinvention of the dojo, something that we've been working on for about a year. I've had to stop myself from sending you a long email multiple times because I've been waiting till more of the pieces are in place. And if everything works out, it'll be going into 2021 that some really huge things for us happen. And I found that the material you covered this morning really helped me get a couple of different ideas of how to present that, and really formed some things up for me that I think are going to be hugely helpful going forward.
Well, I love your emails, long or otherwise. Feel free to send one anytime you want. Thank you for that.
Hey, just it's Paul. Nobody else is speaking, but I just like to speak maybe for everybody else. This was very interesting, very helpful, Nick, and thanks a lot for doing this. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. This is how I serve, and like I said, we're kind of in a unique position because we get to talk to so many business people, and these themes just kept coming up. So I thought I would share them, and happily, a lot of cool people showed up today. Good. Well, thank you again so much. If you registered for this, and I guess you did, we have your email on file. So what I'm going to do is polish up that PDF, and I'll get it to you before I go to lunch today. That's my promise. And if anything comes up, you know where to get a hold of me. But otherwise, stay healthy. It's so great to see you guys virtually, and I can't wait till we can do this kind of thing in the same room.
Right. All right. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.